Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're delighted to have you all here. Welcome to Vanderbilt University School of Nursing Global Collaborative Series. My name is April Kapu. I am the Associate Dean for Strategic Partnerships and Global Affairs here at Vanderbilt. I am delighted to have you all join today. I want to first thank Betsy Usher and Megan Allen and all of those that helped us to develop this series. And the purpose of this series really goes beyond borders. It is an opportunity for us to connect, to learn from one another, to network, and collaborate. There are so many opportunities for us to work together in our respective countries. So I would ask that you all mute your microphones for the first portion of this presentation today. And then after our esteemed speakers finish their presentation, we will open the session for question and answer and comments, because I know you all have a lot to share. So thank you again. And I would like to now turn the time over to our amazing guest speakers who we just saw in person in Aberdeen, Scotland at the International Council of Nurses APN Network Conference. And what an amazing, amazing conference it was. We all came away so enriched and making connections, and everyone is so excited to do so much together, regardless of where we are in the world. So I'd like to turn the time now over to Dr. Karen Moore and Dr. Daniela Levalt. I'll turn the time to you.
Well, thank you very much, April. We are equally excited to be here today. It's absolutely wonderful. We really thank you for the invitation to be here today and to share with you a little bit about how the network helps to advance the APN role. I'm just going to check technology-wise. Yes, the slides are just coming on there. If you just bear with us there, we just get the slides up for you and we will be starting off. So my name is Daniela Lewald. I'm the chair of the ICN NP-APN network, and I'm joined by Dr. Karen Moore. She's the secretary of the network. We're just going to do a brief introduction, and then we're going to get into the topic.
Thank you for having us.
So just about myself, I suppose, just like many here in the call, we all have so many hats on. So by day, I'm an associate professor. I work in the School of Nursing, Psychotherapy and Community Health in Dublin City University. I'm native German. I did my nurse training, intensive care training and so on in Germany. And then I came over to Ireland 25 years ago, where I worked as further on as an ICU nurse and then as a nurse practitioner in cardiothoracic surgery in James's Hospital in Dublin. And now I'm working in DCU in my role here. I volunteer in many different networks relating to advanced nursing and, as we were saying, just the ICN NP-APN network chairing at the moment. So that's me in a nutshell. Handing over to Karen.
Hello, my name is Dr. Karen Moore. I'm a dual certified adult and family nurse practitioner with both a PhD and a DNP in nursing practice. These are just a few of the activities I do. My background is in oncology, acute medicine, infectious disease, and global and occupational health. So I'm the secretary of the core steering group, which is where I know Daniela from. I did a U.S. Fulbright Specialist in Ireland project, and I was a member of the ICN Global Nursing Leadership Institute back in 2023, and I currently sit as the ICN representative to the World Health Organization Working Group on Clinical Ethics.
Yes, so the network purpose is very similar to what April was saying there in the opening. Really, this is a global network, and we're trying to bring together anybody really who's interested in advanced practice nursing. So we try to provide an international or be an international resource for nurses practicing at the nurse practitioner or advanced practice nurse level. And that's really why it was developed. But also we're trying to be a resource for other stakeholders such as policymakers, educators, regulators, and researchers and others So in order to be part of the network, people don't necessarily have to be practicing nurse practitioner or advanced practice nurse, so they could be in any of these fields. A lot of them are, of course, practitioners, but they could equally be people from policy backgrounds, educators, and so on, actually in the network. Our purpose is to make relevant and timely information about practice education, rule development, research policy, and regulatory developments widely available, and also events that are held in the space. We do have a bulletin that comes out twice a year, so we try to make people aware of anything interesting that's going on around the globe. Which is getting more and more, and it's really interesting. So it's really great to be part of that. We also provide a forum for sharing and exchange of knowledge, expertise, and experience. So that's also really important to us. So on the one hand, being a resource, and then on the other hand, also being, I guess, a pool of networkers who can share their knowledge and their experience across. And we also support nurses and countries who are in the process of introducing or developing NP or APN rules. And that's another function. And I guess within all of that, what just has happened, and April mentioned that as well, is we just had our 13th ICN NP APN Network Conference in Aberdeen, Scotland, where we had 811 delegates coming together from 45 countries. So it was a beautiful sharing and networking experience there. We all learned a lot. The program was enriching, and there was a lot, I suppose, that was happening, within the scientific program and beyond. Here's just another slide just to highlight. We were really pleased that this event, I suppose, we are under the umbrella of the International Council of Nurses, and we're an independent network aligned to ICN. So it was really good to see that over the years, I've been involved with the network, and so has Karen, more than 10 years, to see how we were slowly and surely growing more and more together. So it's really delighted to have Howard Catton, the CEO of the ICN, there at the conference. And also you see Dr. Amelia Latu, for this is the WHO chief nurse, being the keynote speaker at the conference. And actually, I was really pleased that she stayed for the entire conference, and she was so supportive of advanced practice nursing that it was really, it's good to look into the future and see there's people that support us. So that was great experience overall. Yes, and of course we're looking forward now, since this conference is now successfully completed. Really looking forward now, and I'm not sure if you've heard, or maybe you have, that the next conference, the 14th ICN NP APN Network Conference in 2026, will take place in the Music City Center in Nashville, Tennessee. So we're going to come over to America this time, and we're really delighted because there's so many things happening at this conference. There will be, as always, a beautiful program and a lot of scientific presentations in various different forms, but it will also bring us together to celebrate, because we will celebrate our 25th anniversary of the network. And we also have a bit of a homecoming, because the network was actually officially founded in the US. So we're coming back to celebrate together with you. So I hope you can join us. So advanced practice nursing, globally speaking, you see a map here. I developed that map kind of last year, so there might be one or the other country that has joined since then, but just bear with me there for a moment. What you see in red are the countries where we have members within the network. So you can see there's at least interest. Advanced practice nursing globally, as you all very well know, really started in English-speaking countries. So in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, came then over to the UK and Ireland, and then other countries kind of came on board as well. And there, this is great. At this point in time, we see that advanced practice nursing is like all over the globe, and it feels unstoppable. It's the conference is growing all the time. The interest is growing all the time. People want to know more and more about it, and that's great to see. But depending on where you find yourself in the world, you see there's some empty spaces, some spaces are still gray as well. But depending on, even if you're in the red kind of places, it depends on where you are. you might find yourself somewhere where the role is fully developed. So the three pillars, as we say, practice, education, and regulation, might be fully implemented, or some of them might be implemented, or it's not implemented yet, but people are discussing it. So it really depends on where you are as to where in the which phase, I suppose, the advanced practice nursing really is. And that's where the network comes in as a global network to bring in people together to create a common understanding of what advanced practice nursing is, what the different levels are, what is a clinical nurse specialist, what is an advanced practice nurse, what is a nurse practitioner. You know, so there are a lot of questions. And not always does advanced practice nurse translate well into other languages. So, you know, it's an English-speaking term. So, you know, there are many things that need to be helped with. People have questions, and that's what the network is for, to help with that. And also to help with the development and have a maybe, I suppose that's the challenge that we have nowadays, is that the role is starting to develop in many, many countries. And I suppose as a network, we're trying to help that the role means the same or something similar wherever you go, although it's context specific and it's country specific, but it still needs to be, you know, the same kind of thing in order to be, you know, standardized, so that advanced practice nurses, you know, also want to be mobile and they want to be maybe going from one country to another. So they need to be able to bring their competencies with them. So there's a lot of challenges out there globally that they're just, yeah, if you press the button, they're covered, and I've said all these things already. So these are really the issues that we are, you know, that we're working with at the moment. Another part, another something that we're trying to help with is to advance the advanced practice nursing role in low middle income countries. We give an award away every year, oh sorry, every 2 years when we have our conference. And that is for that is a low middle income country award. And that, you know, that award, you know, is helping delegates from low middle income countries to attend the conference in the first place, to give their presentation, to share what they have to say, and to network, to have further support to develop what they're developing in their own country. So here you see two members from Kenya and one from Rwanda. Phyllis there's in the middle, and then you have Eunice and Edna who are from Kenya. So we're really delighted that we have new friends within the network who we can share developments with. I suppose another way that we look into advanced practice nursing is to also work very closely with the founders of the Advanced Practice Nurse Network. You see here, we gave another award away at the conference to the founders, and we had a history session that told us an awful lot. And I think this was probably one of the most enriching, for me at least, it was one of the most enriching presentations to learn about, you know, the challenges from going local to global. Because it's very different when you look at things globally. And, you know, within your own countries, there are issues. If I look at my own countries, there's issues with medical dominance, there's issues with regulation. But then if you look globally, there are other issues there. They told us a lot about how they created the network and how they came up with the first definition of advanced practice nursing, all in the spirit of creating a common understanding. And so you see here on the picture, you see Madreen Shobar from left to right, I should say, Rosemary Goodyear, Madreen Shobar, you see Barbara Shear and Lorna Schumann, all founders of the network who gave us a fantastic presentation. And that helps, you know, there was a huge audience there, so that helps everybody to learn about, you know, how to do this, because we're very happy to share and we're very happy to, you know, move things along together. Yes, so in terms of what we contribute otherwise, we try to contribute through ICN, and that's, I guess, the whole point. So one of the points that the founding members were making as well, it was about getting a global voice, and that's really why our network, which is an independent network in its own rights, has aligned with ICN to reach out globally and to have that voice. And we try to publish through the ICN. We've published 3 ICN guidelines where we were part of developing them. So they are the APN guidelines, they are the guidelines for nurse anesthetists, and also for nurses with prescriptive authority. So they are 3 guidelines that we have published together with ICN. We're also part, through ICN, it's under the auspices of ICN, part of the ICN APN Springer book series. And there's 10 publications out so far. Some of them are now getting translated from English into French as well. And who knows what else, what other language comes after that, but it's a job in itself. But basically within this series, we're trying to pick up on the topics, all of the topics that our networks are about: education, practice, policy, regulation. All of these issues are being picked up, and there, people come together to write on them from within the network and also from outside the network. But it's certainly a series that we have contributed to. The latest book that you see there on the left top is the Advanced Practice Nurse Networking to Enhance Global Health. Of course, I have to say this is a really interesting book, and it is a really interesting book. I recommend that you read it. It gives you a lot of ideas as to how you can yourself get involved globally in the advanced practice nursing space. So I would definitely recommend it. But there you see there's other titles there that you might be interested in. So that is something that we contribute and we publish. We do a lot of projects within the network. There's a lot of there's just so many passionate people, which is just wonderful because we're all voluntary people. We all have our day job, and then people come together, and it's absolutely wonderful to see that people are so passionate about what they do. And there's lots of projects going on, and there are lots of publications. I think we did kind of look within the last 3 to 5 years. We had over 45 presentations in peer-reviewed journals. So it's really amazing what's actually getting put out there. So this is just a sample of a couple of papers there. There's more coming out all the time. So we're really delighted about that. So this is about sharing information, being in a resource and having something out there for everybody to look at. So that's really important. This is just a quick overview of the core steering group. So that's like the management board of the network. Our ICN liaison person is David Stewart. He's also the deputy chief nurse of ICN. He's a very good link. He's fantastic helping us to work and linking really well with ICN because we need to have constant communication. And you see all the other members there. Really what we're trying to achieve within in the board is to have a widespread of countries and a widespread of roles, APN roles. So that's really what we're trying to achieve with our group there. Yes, and we have a governance structure in place. That's really important for us as opposed to function. All of our groups that we have subgroups, we have members at large, we have a communication group, alumni group, various different groups, and they all feed into the core steering group. And then the core steering group through the liaison links back to ICN. So there's constant up and down communication, which really keeps us, in the loop as to what ICN is looking for, what we need, and that's how we work together really well. So the subgroups are really important for us, and they've been, of course, present at the conference. There's a little shot there of some of them. We have various subgroups. We have a subgroup in education, health policy, practice, research, and students. And you see the different shares there. You can see by the names that they're, from different countries as well. Time zones are probably the biggest challenge within subgroups and generally within a network like that, because we need to make sure that we meet regularly and we meet virtually generally, but time zones, of course, need to be taken into consideration. So all of these groups are really active. And they all have their schedule, as to how they work. They meet usually around every 4 to 6 weeks. They come together and then they report back to us through joint meetings with the CSG. Yes, and sorry, Karen, this is just what you wanted to add.
Yeah, this is just a little bit about the student subgroup. When the student subgroup first formed, I was the inaugural chair of that group, and this is a great way for APN students to get involved. It allows collaboration with colleagues from around the world. It allows for opportunities for abstract submission to get feedback from people who are in academia, maybe outside of your regular faculty, but still get that kind of give and take. It's really a great exposure to global concepts of healthcare delivery. So as you're looking towards, let's say, your doctoral project or APN projects, it's a good way to get immersed in that. In all of our other subgroups, we try really hard to keep them balanced with no more than 2 people from the same country in any one subgroup. So that way we have a balance of ideas and thought processes. We don't keep quite to that same rule in the student subgroup because we want to make sure that it's open for students to involve themselves and engage as much as possible. During COVID, it was really interesting to see our students really talk about the pandemic and how that was being expressed in their countries. To me, it was kind of the best use of that group is, for example, they would say, you know, I had one student who was from the West Coast of the US, and she was talking to some of her colleagues from across the world on how they were trying to help decrease the isolation that their patients were finding by putting pictures of themselves on the outside of their isolation gear and just some different interventions. And it was a really nice discussion during one of the subgroup meetings about how different pieces of practice could be transported and individualized from within their country, but it also became a bit of a support group during that period of time as we were all kind of reaching out and trying to figure out where to go with the information.
Thanks very much, Karen. Yes, as I was saying, we're meeting online. That's the co-steering group, the student subgroup, and all other subgroups. The subgroups in education, practice, health policy, and research, and the co-steering group, we do rotate every 4 years. So it's not that the same people stay there the whole time. So it's an automatic kind of, rotation. So that is really again, it's about diversity and allowing global representation at all times. So that actually there's constantly, new people, on the different boards, not all at once. Obviously, we have to keep an eye on that. But it's very important that, every region around the globe gets a chance to be in the different groups involved, because we really have only 12 subgroup members and 12 members in the co-steering group, so just to make it workable. So that's another point in terms of diversity that we, trying to establish at all times through the rotation. So advancing the advanced practice nurse role, apart from having a voice out through publication, conference, and so on, we do a lot of consultancy. So this is, as I was saying, all about creating a common understanding of what the role is. And how it can be achieved. There's a lot of questions in many countries at the moment about the education level, for example. And nurse education, if you think globally, is at various different levels when you enter into nursing as the basic training. So the basic training can go from a bachelor degree to a diploma, to a certificate, to an apprenticeship training. So it could be any of those things, depending on where you are, or it could be multiple things in different countries, like yourselves. These are things that we need to, this is the starting point of our conversation quite often, and then to see where can we build advanced nursing on top of that, having a requirement for a master's program or, a DNP, and that can be quite a leap for some countries. So we do need to provide consultancy to help people along to see how they can actually do this. And there's a lot of obstacles, as you know, by developing this kind of role where nurses kind of advance their scope of practice into new fields sometimes, or legitimizing what they've been doing maybe for a while, but actually making this a legitimate and regulated professional competency. So we work in projects in Africa, across Europe. We're just creating a EU charter, and that will hopefully sit within the European Commission to help with standardizing education for advanced practice nursing and also regulation title protection, which is really important, as we all know. We have meetings coming up with Brazil, for example, where we've been approached, to talk to the Ministry of Health. They're currently writing their proposal for nurse education and regulation as well. So that's great. But it's really important, and what we really need to see, and I can just, encourage you all, we need nurses around the tables, way more nurses around the tables. There's a lot of policymakers, and there's a lot of, lawyers and, other professions around the tables making decisions for advanced nursing. So that's why it's really important that this network exists, and that other networks exist, and that people, individual advanced practice nurses, are interested to get involved, so that nurses, will be at the table making these kind of decisions. I feel this is really important, and it's still lacking a lot. Asia is really coming big and strong now with advanced practice nursing, so we're delighted and that a lot of colleagues have been at the conference, and from there, there you can see that there's a lot of movement in that space. But again, it's about understanding, translating the role. We had, for example, just to give you an example, we had an inquiry from Asia before, from Japan. We were having conversations, and there was generally at the beginning the idea was more that, oh, we give our nurses prescribing rights and then we call them advanced practice nurse, so that'll be that, very easy, we fix this, no problem. But then we had to explain that that's not it, that's not everything, that's just a nurse prescriber. So now we need to actually think about what else does an advanced practice nurse do, and how does the system look like, what does the patient need, what does the service need, and how can we create advanced practice nursing roles there, and how can that be systematically introduced into the country. So yeah, that's the kind of discussions, I suppose, that we're trying to support, and creating that understanding, I suppose, as to what it actually really is.
I think the other piece, in addition to consultancy with particular regions, is we also are solicited to serve on work groups on advanced practice within various NGOs or government organizations. So, for example, the World Health Organization, I sit on one of those boards. The International Council of Nurses, we certainly provide feedback to them on, things like definitions of nursing, or like you saw, the guidelines. And even organizations like the United Nations or other global organizations who are engaged in healthcare will reach out frequently and say, we'd like to have the voice of the advanced practice nurse, or these are things. We've been on projects in Africa like Odena and some various things like that, where members of our groups and subgroups have stepped in and been representatives. We have one that's on a midwifery board right now through the WHO. And so those are pieces where our members are actually getting involved in the broader scope as well, not just nation consultancy, but also consultancy to organizations that are truly setting the policy for the next decade or 2 decades or 3 decades of what the nursing workforce and the advanced practice workforce will look like.
Yeah, so I hope that you will join us in the missions that we have articulated now through this presentation. There's a QR code there, pretty big, on the screen right now, where you can join the network. Everybody is welcome. And there's 2 different types of membership. I just want to mention that. If you go into the QR code, you come to our website, and then there's a membership where you can sign on for free. So you can be basically a member at large. That's one way to be part of the network. And that means you get information, for example, through the bulletin that comes out twice a year. You will receive some bulk emails. You will know about the conferences and so on and so forth. But if you want to be really active, you would want to join one of the subgroups that I mentioned there. And that is really done through looking at the website. The different subgroups are on the website, and the contacts, the emails of the chairs are actually on the website. Or, of course, you can approach Karen or myself to say, I'm really interested in maybe the subgroup, if it's policy or education, practice or research. And at the moment, we currently do have a few vacancies in some of the groups. So absolutely, it's a good time to do this. And within that kind of email, you might want to just briefly outline just your motivation as to why you're particularly interested in that subgroup, for example, and also include a brief CV that's mainly focused on advanced practice nursing. And then we'll come back to you, and we'd be delighted to hear from you. So do make use of that if you wish. We are a very inclusive group, and we're always welcoming everybody. So thank you very much, and we're happy to take questions or comments